These are some glow-in-the-dark pebbles that I got from eBay. I just added them to an order just for the novelty aspect. And this is my glow-in-the-dark radioactive spill that I featured in another project. And if you compare the two of them, it's very clear that they've used the same type of pigment, but they've used just a very small quantity just to probably save money more than anything else. And I'm going to turn the lights off in these, and I'll graduate these in how bright they're going to appear, because these four, should I say, these two pairs have used the green pigment, and all the others have used the blue pigment, and it graduates from the blue pigment in white plastic, blue pigment in blue plastic, and blue pigment in sort of magenta plastic. And the result is that these ones are probably the brightest of the blue. These ones are a fairly strongish blue, but they're both very dark, and these ones, they just barely glow at all. So I'll turn the light off now and you'll see how they compare. And the ones at the end that I'm just covering now are barely visible. They're very, very dark, even to the human eye. And in graduation of intensity, I would say that they do start with, well, they start with mine obviously because it's got loads of pigment in it. Then these ones aren't too bad. These ones are okay, but a lot dimmer because they've got them in the coloured plastic. These ones are the brightest of the blues because they're just blue in the white plastic. Then these ones are the blue pigment in the blue plastic, and they're okay, they're fairly strongish colour. So I'll turn the light back on again. And I'm inclined to say, I think, well, they're very dim altogether, so I think I could do better using my technique of blending pound shop resin with the pigment that you can buy from eBay quite readily, and just creating pebbles, either by dripping some of the resin into just like puddles, or perhaps even making moulds of existing small pebbles, or maybe even of these original pebbles. So yes, let's see what I can do. So I've just found some nice stones, and quite fortuitously my house here is pebble dashed with bits of quartz, so I'm going to try making small bits of quartz, and I found a little rock like this to make the mould out of. Plus, of course, I'll be casting these as well. And here's how I'm going to make my silicon putty mould. You can buy commercial silicon putty, but it's really quite expensive. It works out about £10 or about $15 for 100 grams, but you can buy commercial silicon, and I'm not going to show you the full process of making this because I've got another video that covers it, but you can buy this commercial silicon, and you can mix it with corn flour by using a plastic card to just basically scoop it over until it is covered, and once you've got a modest amount of the corn flour mixed in the silicon, then you can knead it with your fingers and it turns it into sort of like a Play-Doh putty. So I'm going to do that now, and just experimentally to find out how much I end up with. I've squirted in exactly 100 grams of silicon, which is excessive. That's a huge amount, but I want to see what it actually weighs once I've mixed it up to the consistency that it makes the proper sort of moulding material. So I'll be right back once I've mixed that. That feels about right. Ended up making the 100 grams of silicon mixed with corn flour made 226 grams, so that's quite a large quantity. That's actually more than I was expecting. And I'm going to divide this up now. I'm just going to finish kneading it that little bit. You'll find that, oh, I should have mentioned beforehand, before you knead it, make sure you put Vaseline in your hands so that it doesn't stick to it. It'll make cleanup a lot easier, because otherwise the silicon sticks to your skin quite well, and it just makes it hard to clean up. So I'm going to keep kneading this a little bit, then I'm going to get a bit of paper, try and pick up all the bits I'm dropping over my workbench, bit of cardboard in fact, and I'm going to divide this into two portions. I think I could just do it as one, but I think I'll divide it into two. So I'm just going to knead that together. Looks a bit fluffy. I might have added too much corn flour, but we'll see how it goes. And I shall roll it just as if it was Play-Doh, making a ball. Or a square, as it actually appears to have come out. And then I shall place it there, and I shall squish it down into this mould substrate. So now I'm going to get the other one and do the same with it. just roll it into a ball, move this across, put it in the middle and just press down. And that's the surface of the mould that I'm going to push the stones into and things like that. So these stones, well, let's start with the plastic shapes first. I'm going to press one of each, I think. Oh no, maybe I'll do more. So I'm going to just press them into it. And I'll press that one in there. You can build the material up around them if you wanted to actually go a bit deeper. And then there's these really strange sort of like wedge-shaped ones. I think my favourite shape is that one, so I'm probably going to do two of those. So let's get those nice and level. And where's another wedge one? There's another wedge one. Oh no, it's not the wedge one, it's a sort of kidney shape. There's the other kidney shape, so I shall shove that in about here. Looks pretty good. Keep those ones separate. Okay, that's one side done. Now I've got these bits of quartz I was going to try as well. Now I washed these, dried them, and then I sort of soaked them in a sort of WD-40-ish type oil in the hope that it will, you know, that it's less likely that they're going to get stuck in the silicon. So I'm going to push one in there just to use this up. And I'm not sure how the porousness is going to go, so let's see what's the best way to get the details out of this. I think I'll push that one in the middle here and shape it round it. And I'll push that one in like that. Normally you'd probably just do one or two in a mould, but I'm just being greedy here, as is usually the case. I want the max. Which is the nicest surface for this one? Yeah, about that I think. And do I have any other wee stones or shapes that I can find around here that I might want to put in? I shall go and have a wee look. Anything that would be quite interesting. Here's a little stone I've not cleaned up, so I'm just going to press that in as well, and we'll see how well it comes out of the silicon once it's cured. It should come out okay. Rightio. And now, I leave those to cure, which will take about an hour or two, so I'll come back once I've done that and we'll pour the resin into them. So I've hurried things along a bit with these moulds now, and they're fully cured, and they're still warm because I heated them to cure them because I was a little bit impatient. Really, I'd recommend leaving these as long as possible, including overnight if you can, and in a warm place to cure fully. But they're cured now. The plastic objects being moulded popped out. I mean, literally, I just tipped it upside down, flexed it, and they popped out. The stones required to be tweezed out because they had so many re-entrant shapes in them. And the only one that was a bit messy was this one that I just added as a last minute thing. And it's kind of left a sort of grubby sort of residue of slight grittiness in there. But that doesn't matter, it'll come out with the resin. So we're ready to start moulding. So I'm going to get my measuring cup, a stirring spoon, and I'm going to get the powder and a sample of how much sort of resin. I want the resin to be about this colour to give me an indication of how much to add of this stuff, although I'll be playing this by ear. Now when you get the dual syringe of resin, note that the bubbles are at the top, the air has gone up to the top here. When you first get it, when they store this, it's on the shelf of the store, it's stored, let me see, it's stored with this down so that the resin doesn't leak out this end. And as such, these big air bubbles aren't visible, they're actually hidden behind this label. When you get the resin, just before you use it, I would recommend that you sit the syringe up the way so that the bubbles work their way to the top, because that way you'll see if there's a roughly equivalent amount of air, because you may have to purge a bit of resin out to start off with if you're mixing small quantities. It's not such a critical thing in this situation because they're going to be making quite a quantity. Now, these particular syringes have this little spacer in here to stop the syringe being pushed in accidentally, I guess. So that comes out. Then I'd recommend just nicking the top here just a little bit, because this top is going to be snapped off. And I'd recommend just putting a wee incision in it just to help it come off easily, and then lever it off like this. There we go. Now, it's worth noting that these caps can go back on to actually block this, but make sure you put it the right way around. You don't want to contaminate one resin with the other part, the type A with the type B. I'm just looking at this strange piece of hardened resin in here, but I don't think it's going to really affect things much. I should just put that aside at the moment and squish it all over my fingers. So I'm going to measure things, strange as it is, and I'm going to use this tiny set of scales, drug scales as I like to call them, because they're the sort of scales that I'd expect drug dealers to use for measuring their drugs out. So I'll let that stabilise. It takes a while to stabilise because it's very accurate, and I'm going to purge the air out of this syringe, and then squirt in. I'm just going to see what sort of weight I get in there. So let's see. I'm going to squirt it up to about. Am I just going to squirt the whole syringe in? I might squirt the whole syringe in. Is this going to be too messy? It's going to be too messy, but I've done it anyway. So that's the whole syringe squirted in, so I'm not going to need to cap that, but I'll stick the cap on it anyway so it doesn't make a mess. Put that to the side. So that comes in at about 21 grams, 21.5 grams. So I'm just going to note that down. I'm going to use the Japanese pen that arrived. I've got a pack of these Japanese pens thinking they were the same ones as this type because they had a similar number. They're not. They've got a completely different tip, much smaller tip, but they're still quite nice pens. So that's 21, I'll say 21.6 grams resin. Full syringe. It's very odd. You write with these and they make those little they do make sort of the Chinesey types, kanji types, sort of brush stroke type things. It's quite odd pens. So now I'm going to add, with this wooden stick, this stirrer stick, I'm going to add the pigment. Now let's see how I'm going to do this. No, it's just gone off anyway, so I shall how am I going to, do I start by putting that in there and then subtract the weight? What's the best bet here? Or should I just, I'll zero that out and I'll just mix it in, then put it back on. So that's at 0. And I'm going to put a good couple of scoops of this in. I'm going to put 3 scoops in. What's that so far? 2¼ grams. So I'm going to mix this in carefully. I should actually have mixed the 2 parts of the resin first, shouldn't I? Doesn't matter, they're all going to get mixed together anyway. Now are these scales going to reset them, turn off? I can always add it. It was 2¼ grams, so I'll know. That's actually a fairly, it's looking quite good colour-wise here. But I think I'm going to add a wee bit more. So I'll use the other end of the stirrer. I'll put this back on. I'll put as much resin in as possible. It's gone down to 2 because there's a couple of, there's part of a gram in this. So I'm going to put another couple of scoops in. I'm going to be quite greedy. So 3.6. Yeah, okay. So the best part, let's round it up. That was about, I'll make it so it's about the equivalent of about 4 grams probably. Yeah, I'll do. And carefully mix that in. At this point the resin starts to feel a little bit sort of gritty, because that's a rare earth pigment. It's quite a gritty powder. This is looking pretty good so far. Should I add some more? Oh, go on then. Let's make it the full. Let's make it the full 5 grams. Plus a wee bit of resin. Yes, that's over 5 grams. Rightio. I think 5 grams into about 20 grams. So actually about about adding about 25% to the pigment. Is that right? Seems the measurements seem a little bit off, but not to worry. Maybe this is quite a heavy powder. I'm certainly adding more than is in these, so I'm going to have to work quite quick now. I'm getting carried away and forgetting that this is 2-part resin and will start curing shortly. So I'm going to start pouring it into the moulds. Put a blob in that one. Oh, expertly done, he lied. Can see it glowing already. Blob in there. I can always add more afterwards. Blob in there. How long before I run out of resin? I don't think I'm going to be able to actually fill them all up. Didn't think I was going to be able to fill them all up, but hey, you never know. Oh, that's way too much. It's going to go everywhere. Yeah. And I'm going to fill that little middle one up because I want, that was one of the quartz ones. This stuff flows quite readily, so once it's in it will find up most, the air bubbles will come to the surface and it should settle out. I've got a wee drop more in that one. And then I'm going to go to the other mould. And I'm going to fill the middle one up. And then that one with the sort of grittiness, that the random extra stone it added right at the very end. Okay, looks pretty good. And then a random extra, because there's not really a huge amount of the resin left, so I'm just going to try and get as much in as possible before it starts curing. Probably putting too much in, it'll end up spilling everywhere. Yes, I'm putting too much in. That happens. Oh yes, I'm making a super mess here. I'll put another wee bit in there. And then spill it over into this one. Okay, I think it's probably on the verge of starting to set, so I think I'll call it quits at that and just miss the last one. Yeah, it's starting to gel a wee bit, so before it goes any further I'm going to do one other little thing. I'm going to take a ultraviolet LED and I'm going to put it into this one here and just sit it down so it goes into that middle stone. I'm just going to perch it across so it's now being covered by the resin. Is the resin starting to gel here? Am I going to be able to put a wee spot more in that one? Or is that me screwed? I think this is starting to gel up. Yeah, can't really. Once it starts to gel, it goes chewy and stringy. You can't really do anything with it. So yes, I wish I'd gone a wee bit faster because I really wanted to get that one more sort of in and flowed over, but that's okay, that'll do. And now I'll wait for it to cure. There is one little air bubble in there, it's a wee bit annoying, but it doesn't really matter. And I'll come back once these are cured. Okay, I've given these long enough, I think they'll have cured by now, so I'm just going to flex it and pop them out. They come out quite easily. Oh, feels a wee bit sticky in the surface, that's alright. It'll soon cure completely. I did make two of the wedge-shaped ones. Did I? No, those are the kidney-shaped ones. That's the wedge-shaped one, which I did catch a wee air bubble at the end there. And this is the curvaceous one, and this will be the little quartzy, crystally shaped one. Oh, it's quite interesting. It's a rough edge. Let's see how the others come off. I've actually got wee drizzles here, but they'll come off easy enough. One. Oh, I like the texture in that one. It's very rough. This is the one that here that had the... Oh, some of the grit that was left in that one has come out on the resin. That's reasonable enough. This is a bit of flash in it at the sides, but that will just crack off. It's but that's another quartzy type one. I think this is was this the last quartz one I put in? It seems to have taken the resin okay, even though it's starting to cure at that point. And this is the one with the LED built into it. So I shall straighten the pins of that up now. Okay, they'll need cleaned off, but let's do a comparison now. I'll just tuck the moulds out of the way, ready for reuse should I desire it. So let's do some comparisons. This one can be compared to this one because they are the same. They're actually... Oh, that's not the one I actually moulded off. It's this one. But yes, we'll put that there. We've got these two. This was the brightest, if I recall correctly, and the wedge was this blue one. So let's do a comparison now and see just how bright they are when I turn the light off. Oh yes, mine are just so much brighter. That's a big improvement. Just looking at it with the naked eye, that is so much. Originally this was the brightest of the ones supplied in plastic, but this one is now just so much brighter. Now let's take a look at this one with the. This one has an ultraviolet LED built into it, so I'm just going to put it into my tester here and turn it on. And let's see if it actually charges up. It's lit very bright green now at the moment, and oh yeah, that leaves quite a strong point of light in the middle of it when you turn the LED back off. Well, that's quite interesting. I wonder how that'll be with the lights on. So this is it turned on. No, you can't really see it with the light on because it's swamped out by the... I can see a bit of a green glow despite the fact this is an ultraviolet LED. Just out of interest, what does an ultraviolet LED look like to the iPad? So let's pull that one out. Oh, very, very low visibility to the iPad. That's reasonable enough. I wouldn't expect it to be too bright. The iPad isn't exactly tuned for the near ultraviolet end of the spectrum. Yeah, well, these turned out okay. I'm just going to take a pair of snips and just clean all the rough bits off the edge, but those are my little chunks of quartz and other stones that will now glow in the dark much better than the other ones did, the ones that clearly skimped on the pigment. And having said that, I used this was about, I didn't use a huge amount of the powder. I think it was about 5 grams I used of this, and it's going to last quite well. I think I could get off with using a bit less, but you know why? Why skimp? Why not just use lots so you can end up with lots and lots of really bright, oh yes, chalk and cheese, yep. They are so much brighter. Yeah, good result.